Hello everybody, my name is Cole, and today we're going to be talking about the Sky Striker engine. We're going to be talking about the base cards that go into it, some extra cards that can be added, and most importantly, what this engine actually does for you. Real quick before we dive into each individual card, what this engine can do for you is get you 2 materials, potentially a ton of draw power, as well as some monster negates or monster banishes. And that's just in the base package. You can continue to add more things to it if you so desire. Last thing before we get into the package, it's important to know and remember that to use a Sky Striker spell, you can't have any monsters in your main monster zone. They can be in your extra monster zone, but your main monster zone must be completely empty. It's something that you may forget from time to time, and you will be called out on it. With that out of the way, let's begin starting with the key card, Sky Striker, Mobilize, Engage. We've got 2 different artworks here, but they do exactly the same thing. And what they do is incredible. Engage lets you search for 1 Sky Striker card and add it to your hand. Then, if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can draw 1 card. Because of the way the engine works, you typically will have more spells engraved, and even more so if you pair this engine with another deck that tends to throw a lot of spells into the grave. And what you will typically be searching off of Engage is Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones. Hornet Drones let you special summon 1 Sky Striker Ace token to the field, which can then in turn be used as link material for a Sky Striker Link monster. Or of course any other Link monster that can be summoned off of a token such as Nightmare Unicorn, Phoenix, or Dark the Dark Charmer. These 2 cards get your engine going, and from there you can link summon using the token into any of your Sky Striker Ace monsters. Kagari, when she is special summoned, can target 1 Sky Striker spell in your grave and add it back to your hand. This means that you can target the Hornet Drones in your graveyard that you just got done using to make a token and then make another token, because it's not once per turn. And same goes for Engage, which means you can search another Sky Striker card out of your deck and potentially get another draw. Because Engage is at 3 in both the TCG and Master Duel, you probably will be seeing it more often than not, so you want more search targets than just Hornet Drones. These other search targets are most likely going to be 3 copies of Sky Striker Mecha Widow Anchor and 1 copy of Sky Striker Mecha Shark Cannon. Widow Anchor is more or less an infinite in permanence, but if you've got 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can take control of your opponent's monster that you negated the effects of until the end phase. And Shark Cannon can banish a monster from the graveyard, but if you've got 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can special summon that monster instead. It's important to run 3 to 4 extra Sky Striker spells in your deck so that you can search them off of your other copies of Engage, because you can't search Engage off of Engage. And last but not least, we've got 2 more Sky Striker Link monsters. Now these are mostly here just for their downward pointing link arrows so you can link into other things with the token, but they do have some niche things that they can do as well. Specifically Hayate, the green one. Kinda the yellow one can do some things, but you typically won't be using her effect if you're not playing a full Sky Striker deck. Hayate can attack directly for 1500, and in the damage step, she can dump 1 Sky Striker card from your deck to your graveyard. Now, this is great for filling out your graveyard with more spells, and also unclogging your deck from your Sky Striker stuff after you've got done with the engine. So, real quickly, what that would look like is activate Sky Striker Mobilize Engage, search for Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones, activate Hornet Drones, which special summons a token to your side of the field. Link your token into Sky Striker Ace Kagari, target the Hornet Drones in your graveyard, add it back to hand, link into a Sky Striker with a downward pointing arrow, like Hayate, activate Hornet Drones again, which summons another token to your side of the field, link 1 more time with that token into your last Sky Striker monster. And boom, you've got 2 materials on board with literally no limitations. However, just remember, like I said, if you want to, you can just use the token to link into something like a Link Spider or those other examples that I mentioned earlier. And just remember, it's not always about just getting more materials. You can also have access to plenty of other different effects that may be helpful for you during your turn or your opponent's turn. For example, let's say you start out with only Hornet Drones as basically your only starter. You can activate it, summon the token, link the token into Sky Striker Ace Hayate, go to battle phase, and attack directly with Hayate for 1500, and in the damage step, you can dump that copy of Engage out of your deck, go to main phase 2, link Hayate into Kagari, Kagari effect, target back Engage, and add it to your hand. and then you can go from there, either adding like a Widow Anchor, a Shark Cannon, and then if you have 3 or more spells engraved, you can draw 1 more card. And that is the basis of the Sky Striker engine. So now we're going to talk about some quick tech options that you can use that may help you in specific situations if you decide to run them. These tech options are going to start from pretty usable to probably not as usable, but little gimmicky, but hey, you might want to try them out. And the first thing is Sky Striker Maneuver Afterburners. Afterburners can target and destroy 1 monster on the field. Then, if you've got 3 or more spells engraved, you can non-targeting destroy 1 spell or trap on the field. Jamming Waves is the opposite. It can target 1 spell or trap on the field and destroy it, and then if you got 3 or more spells engraved, you can non-targeting destroy 1 monster. Eagle Booster is pretty interesting. You can target 1 monster on the field, and for the rest of that turn, that monster is unaffected by card effects. And then if you've got 3 or more spells engraved, it also can't be destroyed by battle damage. Of course, you have to keep in mind that you can't activate Eagle Boosters unless you have no monsters in your main monster zone. One example might be having Apollousa Bow of the Goddess on the field and having Eagle Boosters set to your side of the field. Then, your opponent activates Infinite Impermanence to target Apollousa and negate its effects for the turn. You can flip Eagle Boosters, target Apollousa, and make it unaffected by card effects for the rest of the turn. And as a bonus, if you've got 3 or more spells engraved, your opponent won't be able to beat over Apollousa to get rid of it. You'll still have the monster negates for their main phase too. Of course, this is if you're only ending on 1 Apollousa, which you probably won't be, which makes Eagle Booster slightly niche, but hey, I still think it's better than some of the other tech options I've got to show next. Sky Striker Maneuver Vector Blast. This one is probably never going to be in your deck. It's not even in Sky Striker decks, but hey, you might want to try it out. When Vector Blast is activated, both players send the top 2 cards of their deck to the graveyard. And then, if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can shuffle all of your opponent's extra deck monsters from the field into their deck. Once again, this is not the greatest thing in the world, but hey, in the niche situation when your opponent does have that Apollousa on board in the extra deck zone and you want to get rid of it without using a monster effect, I guess you could use Vector Blast potentially. Sky Striker Mecha Armory Hercules Base. This one is pretty interesting, and I've actually seen it played in Sky Striker decks. However, I don't personally think it's the greatest card in the Sky Striker repertoire. The equipped monster can't attack directly, but it can make it a second attack on a monster. So what this is really doing is being able to use Hayate's effect more than once, and so that's kind of why that's the way that is. However, it's the second effect that I find most interesting as a Sky Striker engine inclusion. If the monster equipped with this card destroys a monster on the field during battle, you can draw 1 card. So, in theory, you could just draw a card off of this. Once again, like I said, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but hey, it's an option. And lastly is adding 1 copy of Shizuku to your extra deck. Now, I don't quite recommend this unless you're going more of a heavy Sky Striker build, because what Shizuku does is in the end phase, you can search 1 Sky Striker card that is not in your graveyard and add it to your hand. But if you already have the Sky Striker engine going from the cards we've talked about earlier, you typically have access to anything that you might want or need. So in reality, Shizuku's maybe not the best option for an engine inclusion. However, like I said, if you do want a bigger Sky Striker engine in your deck, Shizuku might be an option to look at. One more important thing to bring up is that you don't main deck Sky Striker Ace Ray. It's not necessary for the engine, and you probably don't want to normal summon Ray anyway, so you don't need it. That pretty much covers it. That's the Sky Striker engine. So before we leave, I'm going to quickly talk about some different deck options that I've seen people slot this engine into. Starting out with Orchest. People have been slotting the Sky Striker engine into Orchest basically since the 2 decks came out. Now, I don't know if it's super strong today, but it may be usable, especially with Harp Horror at 3 again. Next up is Eldritch. I can see why you might want to run the Sky Striker engine in an Eldritch deck, because you more often than not won't have monsters in your main monster zone. That said, Eldritch is a trap deck, and so you won't be adding spells to your graveyard with Eldritch's effects or any of their trap effects. So it doesn't have the best synergy for that anyway. Next up is Snake Eye. Now, I honestly don't quite understand the Sky Striker engine in Snake Eye, but I have seen people start to do it a little bit here and there, and it seems like it can be some fun. And the last one that I honestly think might be the best option is the Runic deck. Now, you might be running a larger Sky Striker engine in the Runic deck, so you may main deck Sky Striker Ace Ray and have that be your normal summon, especially because Runic doesn't need a normal summon. But I still think you could get away without even running Ray. You could just use the main Sky Striker core or an expanded core about the different cards that we talked about earlier. The best part, and the reason I think that the Runic engine is the best for this, is simply because of the fact that the Runic engine, or the Runic deck specifically, uses spells like crazy. So you will almost certainly always have enough spells in your graveyard to get the extra bonus effects of these Sky Striker cards. Sky Striker is a little bit outclassed in 2024, but by using this little engine with the little cards I've shown you, you not only have the monster negates or the monster banishes, but you could just make a little SP Little Knight by using these two monsters, by linking them into SP Little Knight off of just one card, and that's pretty crazy in my opinion. And that pretty much does it for the Sky Striker engine. Let me know down in the comments how you like to use this engine, or if you want to experiment using this engine in other different decks. Me personally, I think I'll stick to just using Sky Striker pure when I do want to play with the Striker cards. Anyhow, thank you again for watching. Have a good one.